Welcome to Contemporary Black Voices, where we take on the most pressing issues affecting Black America. I am your host, Dr. Sharon Michael Chadwell. My co hosts today are New York Times bestseller and international news enthusiast Caleb Alexander and community activist Chris Dawkins. This week has been another heavy week in the news in Texas, the nation, and across the diaspora. First of all, the U.S. gave an ultimatum to Israel. And then in Georgia, the judge in Georgia put a block to a decision regarding the handling of ballots. So before we get started, we were asking you to hit the like button and to subscribe so that you can get notices when we come on. So Chris and Caleb, you ready to do this?
Yes, ma'am.
All righty.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so Chris, talk to us about this ultimatum that the U.S. made to Israel.
First of all, it was very surprising. I've never heard the U.S. do anything like this and put it out uh, for everyone's consumption. I'm sure they've done things like this behind closed doors, but never have I heard them do this out in the open. But what the U.S. did is they said this week they were going to give Israel an ultimatum. Israel was going to have to decide how their humanitarian effort with Gaza was going to work. And the United States was giving them 30 days to be able to figure this out. Now, my question to this is, was this done, number one, for Kamala Harris? And if so, is 30 days too late? This is something they probably should have done early on. So I don't know who it benefits. I would like to maybe pass it on to Caleb and ask him, his thought on the matter.
Mhm.
It's not going to be a
All right,
thought,
Chris.
it's going to be thoughts.
Well, I tell you my thoughts on the matter. So I mean, yeah, it is. Hey, we're what a little bit over 2 weeks till the election, and so you have them vying. Trump and Kamala are both vying for Michigan, and we all know we're the large air population in Michigan, especially around Detroit. So I mean, you asked me about the timing. Everything's political. And so, yeah, I think that this is a political play, and I agree with you, Chris. I think this should have been done uh, months ago, if not almost a year ago. They should have put this kind of pressure on Israel. And now that they have killed uh, the top three leaders of Hamas, uh, this definitely opens the door. But even with the death, with those most recent deaths of the leader of Hamas, uh, Netanyahu is still saying that he's going to press on with the war. And so instead of taking this opportunity to declare victory and start taking steps toward peace, he's adamant about continuing this war. So I think the administration is it's I, a little it's a little and it's late.
Well,
Uh,
Caleb, 2 points I would like to make. One is that um, those people who were killed this week was
mm-hmm,
killed after the U.S. made the ultimatum. That's number one.
mm-hmm,
Also, that happened prior to them making the ultimatum is the Palestinian community of America, especially
mm-hmm,
out of, I think, Dearborn, Michigan, came out and said, we're not supporting Kamala Harris, nor are we
mm-hmm.
endorsing Donald Trump.
Right.
And I think because of the type of people that they definitely won't vote for the presidential election. But you can never know what a person might do when they go into the voting booth. They could still vote for Kamala Harris. I don't know.
Mhm. No, I agree. I agree. So, and the other point is, yeah, we that ultimatum was made prior to us knowing about the death of the Hamas leader. So, uh, I suspect that the Israelis probably knew that they had got him before they released that information to anyone, and I suspect the U.S. knew that he was dead before they released that information to the public. But no, I mean it's again it creates an opening for peace that Netanyahu is squashing. But yeah, uh, that's kind of those are my thoughts on it. So,
Well,
Doc,
you
what are you
also
thinking?
mentioned during our planning meeting South Africa's relationship to Israel and their hesitancy in, I guess, saying anything about what's going on. Can you elaborate more on that?
I so my question is you know what, back to, and I do have another question. So my question is the U.S. really going to follow through and uh, decrease arms to Israel? That's my question. Uh, as powerful as the Israeli lobby is and the Jewish lobby is the U.S. really going to have the political will to really restrict arms to Israel? That's the question, especially at a time when uh, they're escalating this conflict with Iran. So and at a time when the U.S. has moved additional troops and additional assets, particularly air defense assets, into the region. So you know you on the one hand you're moving additional assets into the region to protect Israel, but at the same time you try to give them an ultimatum to kind of ratchet down the war and start getting aided. So and it's a similar situation like Doc brought up in South Africa, because you have one hand that's doing this and another hand is doing this. And so with the South African situation, which is very similar, uh, South Africa took Israel to the International Criminal Court of Justice. They had accused them of violation of human rights. And that's on the one hand. But on the other hand, uh, South Africa is the largest supplier of coal to Israel, and so those are really interesting and kind of, to me, even a little bit disturbing, because I'm wondering like what kind of game is South Africa playing? Because on the one hand, you very publicly uh, step out on that ledge and you take Israel to court in defiance of of the United States and some of the larger players in the international community. Uh, but on the other hand, you're powering the Israeli population, you're powering the Israeli war machine, you're powering those factories. So you're giving them the coal that they need for their coal-fired power plants to continue their production of munitions, to continue all of their energy for production. So I mean, it's just, to me, it begs the question of what kind of games being played by South Africa, what kind of game is being played by the United States, what kind of game is being played by the international community. Because on one hand, you have them trying to wind down the war, but on the other hand, uh, you don't really see anybody putting pressure or sanctions or restricting trade or anything with Israel. And South Africa's trade with Israel has grown by 7% a year each year, to where they are a major trade partner with Israel. So
Caleb,
those are
let,
just the
let,
questions.
let me ask this question. First of all, uh, that whole South African thing just scrambles my brain.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm trying to figure out, like you said, what kind of game are they playing? But if
Mm-hmm.
they've brought up Israel in, uh, I guess this would be the UN with international war crimes. Is that correct?
Right. The ICJ, you're right, the International Court of Justice.
So does the United States have veto power over that?
No,
They do not.
no, nope, they do not. They do not. So, um, and thankfully they don't. So, but no, and bringing them up in the World Court, and the World Court has decided in favor of South Africa repeatedly, and Israel has chosen to ignore the World Court. And so, I mean, you have the World Court, but you also have the Court of World Opinion, which is decidedly against Israel, is decidedly against Israel continuing this war and basically turning Palestine into just a Gaza into just a wasteland. And so uh, you see the world's opinion of Israel when Netanyahu rose to spoke. Most of the delegates to the United Nations chose not to attend, and the ones that did attend walked out. So
So,
Netanyahu gave a speech to an empty room, and he accused the entire United Nations of being anti-Semitic because they all walked out on him.
So, what we're going to do here in a moment, Caleb, we're going to put a pause on this discussion and then we'll come back and pick up.
Mhm.